All right. It is the first live stream of the 2023 fantasy football season. I understand not a lot of people are going to be in here watching this, and that's totally fine. Um, it's a difficult time for some of y'all in Florida with the hurricane bearing down on y'all. Again, my brother Connor is supposed to be joining me on these lives and these podcasts. Um, but again, we both have crazy schedules. He has three kids. I have one kid that does sports every single uh, afternoon slash evening of the week. So you might see one of us every week. You might see both of us every week. It all depends. And then, as I covered in my podcast that I put on my Patreon page, um, other times you may not see me at all just because of my crazy NASCAR schedule. Um, but nonetheless, thinking of all my family and friends in Florida that may be affected by the hurricane. I don't know how you pronounce the hurricane's name. I know it's like Idalia, Adalia, something like that. So I'm not going to try and pronounce that anymore. I'm just going to say I'm thinking of y'all, and I hope y'all stay safe. Out here in California, where I am, the show must go on. Again, the live streams will be Mondays when life is not as hectic. My brother's not going to be on this live stream because he had to evacuate. So he's relocated his family right now from St. Petersburg side, near the bay, over to Orlando for the next couple of days. Um, so eventually, you'll have a podcast and a live stream with both of us on here, probably going at each other's heads. I'm sure of that. Again, as I said in my podcast the other day, if you know my brother and I, that is what we do. It's all in love, but it does get heated. I have the utmost respect for my brother. He is a diehard fantasy football player. I'm a diehard fantasy football player, but in my opinion, he comes with some uh, some ridiculous outtakes. As sure, I mean, as I do too, I'm sure. Um, but nonetheless, I've been playing a lot longer than he has. He's been playing probably since maybe 2017 ish, and he thinks he just knows everything in 6 years. My first league was when I was about 11, 12, 13, somewhere in there, for money, thanks to my dad. I am now 34 years old, so you do the math on that one. So this is already gonna when he sees this, I'm sure this is already going to get his wheels spinning. But he thinks he knows more than me. In the end, as most of y'all know, we go to Vegas for a high stakes fantasy football draft every September. We are not going this year. Actually, we'd be leaving in probably roughly a week or so, give or take. We'd probably be leaving Tuesday. And here's Alexa with the reminder of me taking my medication. Anyways, we are not going this year, but when we usually do go, Connor will be the first one to tell you. My dad listens to me over him when we're all debating on who to take as our pick. So let that speak for itself. Anyways, um, again, I know I need to be more consistent. My life is absolutely crazy behind closed doors. Not to get too personal and bring it into this, but again, I have a daughter, 7 years old, second grader. It means the world to me to be a father and to be an involved father. So it is difficult. Like I said, she's got swimming and volleyball, swimming 3 days a week, volleyball 2 days a week. Um, I get her from school a couple days a week for right now. There's some legal stuff going on for me to hopefully get 50-50 come October and November. So the hecticness could go up a little bit, but even if I have her most of the time or 50% of the time, I should say, um, she may make an appearance in here on a live stream from time to time. So, with that being said, I know I didn't post on my TikTok channel the other day, which is probably a good thing because the two bets that I liked for week 0 of college football was the USC spread, and they didn't cover, and then the over under for the Notre Dame and Navy game, and I think that was a push. I'd have to go back and double check, but I think that was a push. So yeah, it's a good thing that I didn't post on my TikTok, but nonetheless, I am going to be active on my TikTok. Like I said, I will post one free bet a day slash a week that I like. Again, I'm trying to be more consistent with this. I really want to build this up. I love talking sports. My sports knowledge is deep. I play fantasy baseball. I play daily fantasy NBA. Absolutely love and bet big on college basketball. Um, diehard NFL, big fantasy football player. Um, so yeah, it could be year round. Um, and that's really what I'm trying to do. My brother, he'll be the first to tell you that he's not the most knowledgeable in other sports. So it may be myself taking the reins a lot of the time. Um, during like college basketball season, once NFL ends, like, come February, March, but he is into baseball, pretty big. And like I said, quite a few people play fantasy baseball, so we'll have sleepers for that. Like I said, he's got his own little list. Of course, y'all know mine. Temper your expectations. He's got his list. Again, when he gets on here, I will let him tell you all about it. But I do plan on either between the live stream on Mondays or the recorded podcast that drops either Friday or Saturday. Uh, the plan is for Connor and I, or one of us, if it's one of us that week, to go through each NFL game and choose one bet that we like and bet it. And whoever loses the most bets has to do some type of, like, not extreme, but a little embarrassing punishment. Um, like I said, he has 3 kids, so maybe one week, and then the winner gets to choose. And then even sometimes we'll let the audience, whoever's paying through Patreon and commenting on these videos and stuff, we will let y'all choose the punishment. But again, has to be, respectful, has to be fun, and not like super extreme or embarrassing or anything like that. Kid friendly stuff. Um, so yeah, next week starts the NFL season. I can tell you right now, as of right now, the one bet that I for sure like this week in college football, this game is on Thursday, so in 2 days. But the last I checked, Utah was minus 6.5. I'm bringing this back up to just double check this again. So bear with me here. But last I saw, Utah was minus 6.5 against the Gators on Thursday night. Sports book. Let's see. I want to see what the line is here. Mm, hmm. Let me log into to my account here 1 second. If not, I'll bring up ESPN. I'm sure the line probably has not changed all that much um, from the last time I looked at it. All right, not gonna worry about that right this second. Actually, I could bring it up here because I forgot I got it open in my browser as well. All right, sportsbook, college football. All right, I think now we're getting somewhere finally. Yeah, it's still 6.5. So right now, I like Utah minus 6.5. I'm not sold on this Gators quarterback that transferred from Wisconsin. Utah is opening the season 14th, and we barely beat them last year in the swamp. And I think they're going to be a little pissed off from that one. And I don't know. I don't see how the Gators win this game, let alone keep it close in Utah. Utah is going to come out fired up. So I am betting Utah minus 6.5. Now, I'll have other college football bets during the recorded podcast later this week. So, with that being said, fantasy football sleeper time. And I'm going to be all over the place with this list. So we're going to bounce around from position to position. But number one is Kenny Pickett. Every year, there is a number 2 quarterback that's drafted as a backup or that's not drafted at all that really shines. Usually, they're first round picked quarterbacks in the NFL. Kenny Pickett fits this mold. Not to mention, he has Najee Harris, Jalen Warren. He has Deontay Johnson. He has George Pickens. He has Pat Freiermuth. So, and his slot receiver is Allen Robinson. So I really love Kenny Pickett to come out this year and finish the season as a quarterback one. Not to mention he's a runner. Pittsburgh improved their offensive line from last year. So I really like Kenny Pickett. Next one is Justin Herbert. Herbert may or may not be a sleeper. I still think he outperforms his ADP for what it's worth. And that qualifies as a sleeper. So I love Justin Herbert. Man, I wish Connor was on here because he is much more higher on Sam Howell than I am. But he has talked me into putting Sam Howell on my sleeper list, and I do like Eric Bieniemy being offensive coordinator of the Commanders now. I've already told a couple of y'all this, but we're about to find out how much it was Eric Bieniemy in Kansas City and how much it was Andy Reid. Because Kansas City's offense is, if you look at them on paper outside of Travis Kelce, they're a little rough. So Eric Bieniemy hops over to an offense that's unproven with Sam Howell, but Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, a solid wide receiver duo there. Speaking of duos, the duo in the backfield with Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson. And then depending on how healthy he stays, Logan Thomas at the tight end position. And again, I circle back to how much was it Eric Bieniemy with Travis Kelce? And if it was a lot of Eric Bieniemy, Logan Thomas, sleeper at the tight end spot as well, because we saw what Bieniemy did with Kelce. And we know Ron Rivera likes to incorporate the tight ends. Look what he did with his time in Carolina with Greg Olsen. So if Logan Thomas is healthy, Logan Thomas, sleeper tight end as well. I thought I had a pen next to me. Guess not. It's fine. Running backs, I'm not going to go into details with all these guys because, like I said, I'm trying to make this a little quick day since it's just myself. Then there was zero notice and zero buildup of the live. But Dameon Pierce back on the sleeper list. Much better offense, CJ Stroud. Wide receivers unproven, but they bring in Dalton Schultz. They bring in a more, I'll say, durable and competent backup running back in Devin Singletary. DeMeco Ryan's the head coach there now. Love DeMeco there. It's going to take time to build that team up. Give CJ out some time. They need a stout wide receiver one, but I do like that team. I like Dameon Pierce. Rachaad White for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No Leonard Fournette. Rachaad White, good PPR guy. Baker Mayfield, crappy quarterback. You put the two together, Baker checking it down to Rachaad White all day long. Don't need to say any more there. Romeo Doubs and or Jayden Reed. Now, Romeo Doubs was on my sleeper list last year as a rookie, and I'll be honest, I messed this up. I didn't take a deeper dive at the preseason play-by-plays last year. And if I would have known or at least seen that Dobbs' preseason hype last year was from Jordan Love. It wasn't Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers wasn't the one that was targeting Dobbs all last preseason. It was Jordan Love. Now Rodgers is gone. Jordan Love is there in a Romeo Dobbs. Dobbs has racked up quite the impressive stat line already here in preseason with Jordan Love. I think last I saw was like 6 or 7 catches for like 73 yards and a touchdown or two. So Dobbs and Jordan Love have that connection. And yeah, if you know Christian Watson, you know Christian Watson is probably going to get hurt at some point during the season. And that's why I said and or Jayden Reed. Jayden Reed looks like a promising rookie. He's been making plays. He's been creating buzz throughout training camp in the preseason. So if Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs goes down, Jayden Reed could be added off the waiver wire rather quickly. Staying in that division, Jordan Addison for the Vikings. This is pretty self-explanatory. Who are you talking about, Mike? Talk about Watson? Hopefully all his injuries are behind him. Jordan Addison, again, not much to be said. Adam Thielen leaves to Carolina. They need a number 2 wide receiver. They go out and draft Addison. And starting opposite Justin Jefferson, you know JJ is going to get all the big cornerbacks and double coverage and all that stuff. So Jordan Addison, love him. And I mean, I know you drafted him, Mike, on your main team, Christian Watson. So for you, I'm hoping he stays healthy. Yes. As a whole, my money's on him getting hurt, but we won't touch on that subject. We'll just keep it at for you. I hope he stays healthy. Another rookie wide receiver that I truly, 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 truly love, and that I have actually, did I draft him on my one team I did with my dad already? Let me see here. I don't think I did. I think somebody took him from us. But that is the rookie for the Chargers, Quentin Johnston. Pretty much same thing as Jayden Reed. Mike Williams, I think he's been injured a couple of times every year in his NFL career. You damn right oops. See, I'm already cursing. Can't do that. You darn right we're back, Brandon. You darn right. Y'all have to go back and watch the beginning. But again, Connor's supposed to be down here with me. He evacuated due to the hurricane, and these lives are supposed to be Mondays. He evacuated yesterday, which caused some stuff to go awry. But if you go back and watch this in the beginning, I do call out Connor a little bit. So I threw some humor in there. And when he gets on here, we'll be button heads for sure, especially after what I said earlier. Let me see. I was bringing up my fantasy team here that I just drafted on Sunday with my dad. Yeah, we did not get Quentin Johnston, but we did get Romeo Dobbs. And as I touched on it earlier, we did get Justin Herbert. We did get Jordan Addison. Um, but Quentin Johnston, I love Quentin. Mike Williams, as I mentioned, has been hurt what seems to be at least 2 to 3 times a year during his career. So it's only a matter of time for Mike Williams gets hurt again and misses time. Keenan Allen has not been the most healthiest during his year either, which I just said on this team. We have Keenan Allen. So again, going back to your situation, Mike, I hope I'm wrong, but it's more about Mike Williams staying healthy in this case, which, I mean, if I had to pick between Christian Watson or Mike Williams getting hurt, I'm putting my money on Mike Williams more. And Quentin Johnston at worst is going to be the slot guy. And then when Mike Williams goes down, Johnston will be on the outside. Kellen Moore comes over as offensive coordinator. You saw what he did with Dallas the years that he was there. And very good offensive-minded coach. Should have Quentin Johnston in his playbook, drawing up plays for him often. So I love this next name, but God forbid, I don't even know how to pronounce it. Brandon, I hope you're still in here because sometimes you like to correct me on pronunciation of names. I know that's more NBA, but we don't give this one a twirl or a whirl or whatever you want to call it. Chigozium Okonkwo. Anyways, he's a tight end for the Tennessee Titans. I think the Titans will be throwing the ball a lot this year. I understand DeAndre Hopkins is there. He's going to get damn near every target. I get it. Behind Hopkins, they pretty much got what? Traylon Burks? Yeah. Well, I knew they called him Chig, but if I say Chig, some people may not know who the hell that is. If I say Chig, some people may not know who the hell that is. But late round tight end, maybe like 13, 14, 15, 16. Outside of DeAndre Hopkins, yeah, Traylon Burks is there. Of course, Derrick Henry's there. Derrick Henry's not a big pass catching back. They're going to need somebody. Quarterback play is a big issue there. With Tannehill and stuff, and then if I'm not mistaken, Levy's went there too, so maybe he takes over at some point during the year. But nonetheless, felt like out there in Tennessee, staying at the tight end position and finishing that up for the time being. 3 rookies. Sam Laporta, Detroit Lions, don't need to say anything there. He's a starter. High-flying offense. Jameson Williams suspended 6 games. Again, they need somebody to fill in for Hockenson, who they traded last year, which was a mind-blowing trade, by the way. Audio's cutting out. Oh, no. Hopefully, that is not my microphone. Let's hope. I can try and unplug it and plug it back in, but I don't know. I just muted it and unmuted it. So I hope. Okay, good. Sounds better. Good. Anyways, Laporta, tight end for the Lions. High flying offense. Everybody has high hopes for the Lions to make the playoffs, to put up a lot of points. I personally think they're going to come back to reality next Thursday night. But hey, that's just me. Nonetheless, every team is going to put points, right? Every team needs pass catchers. Sam Laporta is a solid rookie, tight end. So that maybe was just the app then and not so much my microphone. That's good. I do like Jahmyr Gibbs at running back. However, see, this is again where I need Connor. Connor loves this kid. I do not love him as much. I think they got one too many damn options. And I know they said like, oh, Gibbs is going to line up all over the field. He might line up in the slot. I get it. Gibbs, I'm going to pass on this year, and I want to see how he does and how much he's used in this offense before I potentially draft him next year. Dynasty is a whole nother thing. If it was Dynasty, yeah, I'd take him, obviously. But just redraft, no, I'm letting him pass this year. And I want to see how well he gets incorporated into that offense. But Connor will tell you right now, he's super high on him. I can't wait to get this kid in here. Ooh, this is gonna be so much fun. Luke Musgrave, another starting tight end for the Packers. Love him. He was out there running with the ones throughout preseason with Jordan Love, Dobbs, Jaden Reed, Watson, Aaron Jones, all of them. Jordan Love was targeting Luke Musgrave quite often, actually. And then the last tight end on here, it's kind of like a TEBC, tight end by committee. Tight end by committee. There we go. Austin Hooper, who I love, but keep an eye on Michael Mayer, the rookie from Notre Dame, out there in Vegas. Again, quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. Who did he target his whole time when he was in San Fran? George Kittle. Josh McDaniels, the head coach. What's McDaniels known for? 2 tight end sets. Loves the tight end. Again, outside Devontae Adams, they need somebody to catch the ball. So I'm not exactly sure who it's going to be, Hooper or Mayer. Hooper's the starter. Yes, he's old. Again, it's McDaniels. Yes, he likes to put 2 tight end sets into plan. But Michael Mayer, sometimes it takes tight ends a little while to develop. So maybe that's why, they keep Hooper atop the depth chart. But then again, they signed Austin Hooper. Then they went out and drafted Mayer in the 2nd round, I believe. You don't do that and just keep him on the bench. So keep an eye on Michael Mayer as the season progresses. Next 2 guys on here aren't really sleepers, but I starred them because, okay, so here's my ideal start in a 12-team PPR draft. Well, it doesn't really have to be 12-team. It's harder to get these 3 and 12 teams than it is in 10 teams. But towards the back of the draft, which is where I want to draft this year, starting Tony Pollard, we already know I'm super high on him. I've been high on him since his rookie year. Zeke was standing in the way. Zeke's finally fell over. He's getting old. He's gone out of there. Go eat into Ramondre Stevenson's time, please, because I ain't drafting Ramondre this year. That's another guy that Connor likes, Ramondre. So it's all Tony Pollard this year. So now I'm curious to see what he does with a full workload. Yes, he's smaller than most backs. He still finished as running back 6 last year. Yes, he's going to get more touches. I still think he'll be okay. Anyways, at the back of the draft, starting Tony Pollard, hopefully lasting Amon-Ra St. Brown. So he's one of the guys here that I have starred. Love Amon-Ra. He is a 3rd-year wide receiver, by the way. All that have been following me the last couple of years, 3rd-year wide receivers. And then coming back in round 3, this is where it gets real tricky because he usually doesn't last. But another 3rd-year wide receiver is Devonta Smith from the Eagles. So ideal start, Pollard, Amon-Ra, Devonta Smith. And speaking on that, it's only a 10-team league and the format is a little different. But that is how my dad and I started on Sunday. In our fantasy draft, we had pick 8 of 10. We went Pollard. Then we got Amon-Ra coming back in round 2. And then we took Devonta. Somehow Devonta Smith lasted to us at pick 8 in round 3. And I could not be more ecstatic about that team, or at least about that start, I should say. Another 3rd-year wide receiver that we grabbed on our team on Sunday that I really like the situation he's in is Elijah Moore. Forgettable years, to say the least, in New York, and got traded to Cleveland. middle to late of last year. And now Deshaun Watson is the full quarterback. No more suspension. Deshaun's the guy. Here we go. Elijah Moore has been developing great chemistry with Deshaun. Again, they have Amari Cooper to help take coverage off Elijah Moore. And I think, well, it's not hard to top this, but this is going to be Elijah Moore's best year of his career. And again, I know that's easy because he did next to nothing in New York, but I think Elijah Moore surprises a lot of people. And he finishes as a top, I'm going to say 25, 30 wide receiver, which is good for a flex spot or maybe wide receiver two on your team. I touched on it earlier with the Chiefs. If you look at the Chiefs on paper behind Travis Kelce, this offense is just a big question mark. Who's going to step up? Yeah, they got MVS. He's a speed guy though that stretches the field. They got Justin Ross, who's great at Clemson, runs into an injury. Sky Moore had high hopes last year for a rookie, didn't really live up to those expectations. Now he's in year two. They're going to need somebody to step up outside of Kelce. Kelce can't do it all. Yeah, they got Kadarius Toney. Toney likes to get hurt though too. So this whole offense is a big question mark. I think, look, outside fantasy football, I'm excited for the Chiefs' first couple of games, I should say, because I'm curious to see how much this was Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid. Usually, you don't see offensive coordinators leave their teams to join a different team as OC, but it happened twice this past offseason. Kellen Moore from the Cowboys to the Chargers, EB from the Chiefs to the Commanders. And I'm not exactly sure why you leave the Chiefs to go to the Commanders, but hey, whatever. You want Mahomes to be your quarterback or you want Sam Howell to be your quarterback? We're just going to leave it right there. Anyways, I know Andy Reid had some type of influence on the play calling. How much to be determined? Anyways, this whole thing I'm getting at is the number one sleeper I like in this offense is Sky Moore. I do think Toney gets hurt. I think MVS is probably your number one, your speed guy that's going to stretch the field. But Sky Moore, if I had to pinpoint anybody to lead the Chiefs in targets, receptions, touchdowns, all of that outside of Kelce, which I've already had this conversation with you, Mike, and I'm sorry. I apologize. But Kelce has to start declining at some point in time here. You could give me pick 4, 5, 6 right in the middle of the drafts. I'm passing over Kelce. And this is on FFPC where it's 1.5 points for catch for tight end positions. I'm still passing over Kelce. I just don't like him. I mean, over the last, I want to say 6 weeks or so it was, 5 weeks, going back to last season, Kelce was tied. 5 weeks going back to last season, Kelce was tight end number 4. Hey, that's still great production. If I got tight end number 4, my starting tight end, hey, cool. That's fine. But that's not the Kelce we know. And again, how much of it was EB? How much of it was Andy Reid? Because if it was a lot of EB, then you're going to see Kelce take a little bit of a decline as well. So, but then again, as I just said, Kelce is your number one option in the Chiefs offense. So who the hell knows? That's why I said there's 2 teams I'm watching early on in the season, and that is the Commanders and the Chiefs. I can promise you, outside of my Panthers and outside of my fantasy players, I'm going to be glued to the Chiefs game and I'm going to be glued to the Commanders game. And as I said earlier, I want to say that was before Brandon? So now you're gonna be double checking. That's a good question. But as I said earlier, before a lot of y'all came in, one of my deep sleepers that tied in is Logan Thomas, depending on his health. Because again, was it EB involving the tight end a lot, or was it Andy Reid? If it was EB, Logan Thomas going to have a good year if he can stay healthy. That man can't stay healthy either. I feel like this is a recurring theme here on this. Is just talk about guys that are just made of glass, more or less. Oh, I got to log in. All right. Well, we're going to take a different route to Travis Kelce's game log. I forgot to log in for this website that I usually lose. Actually, wait, might be on my phone here still. I'm curious now, Brandon. You got me thinking, and Lord knows, boy, this old memory can't fucking. Oops. Can't keep everything in it. I didn't curse right there. Y'all think you might have heard it, but I didn't. Let's see. Here we go. Kansas City Chiefs. There they are. Kelce. Game logs. I know Mike's hoping for another 4-touchdown performance. Yeah, that was after Brandon. His 4-touchdown game was in week 5 against the Raiders. So week 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 last year, Kelce did not score a single touchdown. So again, I say he started declining last year. He had a 3-touchdown game in week 11. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The last 7 games of the season, he scored 1 time. Now, 2 of those games, for what it's worth, he did put over 100 yards receiving. And in one of those games, that mother effer caught all 10 of his targets. So that's impressive. 10 catches for 105 yards. In a standard PPR league like yours, Mike, that is 20.5 points. I'm drooling over that one. Thank you. So, again, you got to take it for what it's worth. But, I mean, 4 for 56, that ain't even 10 points. 4 for 71, 11-1. Congrats. You barely touched double digits. That's not Travis Kelce-like numbers. Then he goes 10 for 105. That's Kelce-like. Then he comes back 6 for 113. That's Kelce-like. 7 for 43. Oh, we're back in the 11s again? Thanks, Travis. And then for what it's worth, week 18, which a lot of leagues don't play week 18, but he had 6 for 38, 9-8. It's pretty crappy. So the one thing that saved him over the last 7 weeks or so was the touchdown in week 12, because outside of that, he would have had 9.7. And then the 2 100-yard games. So again, he started declining last year. Why? Well, to be determined. So anyways, back to Sky Moore. I like Sky Moore, like I said, in this offense. A deep sleeper here that I still like, if he stays healthy again, to outproduce Tony and MVS and can potentially push Sky Moore for leading this team in receiving, is Justin Ross. Ross is an afterthought after his injury, but he was great at Clemson. And, again, to be determined on the Chiefs offense. A couple running backs here. Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell. I'll say this about Gainwell. Gainwell is in a great position. This man's competition is Rashad Penny. Look, if there's anybody in the NFL that I'm going to put my money on to get hurt, it is Rashad Penny. Number 1, first and foremost, over Christian Watson, okay? Even over James Conner, even over Mike Williams. If there is anybody I am putting money on to get hurt, it is Rashad Penny. And this is why I said to draft Kenneth Walker last year. And here's a fun fact, side note on this whole little Ken Walker Rashad Penny situation last year. There was one team of my buddies that I was running, $250 buy-in. He paid it all, but he wanted me to run the team. Draft, waivers, lineups, all that stuff. I was the full manager. He just paid the entry fee, then he backed off. Cool. I drafted Kenneth Walker on that team. Rashad Penny fooled my ass. And yes, I know I cursed, but he fooled me because I think it was week 6. Penny was still playing, and I needed a drop for somebody. And off this team, the week, it was the waiver week. So like what, that Friday or whatever, before the Sunday where Penny got hurt. And I think it was week 6, may have been week 5. But I dropped Walker for somebody, and I'm like, wow, Penny's just gonna play full season now, huh? And then sure enough, 3 days later, after that waiver ran, and I dropped Walker off that team, Penny gets hurt and he's out for the year. So I'm like, here we go. And I was doing decent at the time. I was like second or third in the standings. And their ridiculous waiver order was worst to first. So I knew there's zero chance I'm getting Kenneth Walker back now, but I put in a waiver anyways. Of course, I missed out on him. Last place team got Kenneth Walker. So $250 buy-in that my friend paid. I'm running the team. I look like a freaking rookie dropping this man 3 days before Rashad Penny gets hurt. The whole reason why I drafted Walker is because I knew Penny was going to get hurt. And I don't wait just a little bit longer, and then I lose out on Kenneth Walker. I'm getting ripped by my dad. I'm getting ripped by my brother, and I'm kind of getting ripped by the owner of the team, rightfully so. If that was the NFL, okay, or anything like that, my ass would have been fired. Okay, I'd have been fired. Give me back the team. Rob, you're done. Guaranteed. Short story, I still, with losing Kenneth Walker, I still put that team in the championship. And with the whole ending to the NFL last year with the Bills and the Bengals and Damar Hamlin and that whole situation, we ended up splitting the pot. His brother is who we met in the championship. So they ended up splitting the pot. So there really wasn't a first or second, but even losing Kenneth Walker and dropping him, I still led that team to the championship. So thankfully I wasn't fired, let go, locked out of the account because it was on my buddy's account. He could easily change the password and be like, F you, Rob, you're done. Led that team to the championship. Led that team to, I want to say it was like a $1,400, something like that, split of the pot. So I ended up taking home like 300, 325, 350, something like that. And I didn't even pay anything. So solid payday for me. So I know, Mike, you've asked. I know, Brandon, you've asked if you want to split teams. Well, we got about a week to can pull that off. So we need to get on that if we're going to do it. Anyways, back to Kenneth Gainwell and that little nugget. This man got Rashad Penny in front of him. I ain't worried about Penny. Even if it takes 7 weeks, Penny's going down. That's what I learned last year. It may not be week 1 or 2 with Penny. Might be about week 5, 6, 7, but Penny's going down. And the other one is DeAndre Swift. Another one that just, and not to mention these guys are playing running back, getting hit every play. Of course they're going to get hurt, right? So Gainwell was actually used a lot last year. And as they went deeper into the season, Gainwell's usage went up. I do like Kenneth Gainwell there in Philly. Jaylen Warren, look, Mike Tomlin likes to shift through running backs like they're just nothing. I mean, he's done it a handful of times throughout the year or throughout his years at Pittsburgh. You think one guy is going to run the ball the entire year, and then all of a sudden he just goes to like fresher legs. And this goes back to the Willie Parker days when Willie Parker was the running back in Pittsburgh. This man will just flip the script on you and won't even tell nobody. It'd be Najee for the first 6 weeks, and then bam, all of a sudden they're doing well. Nah, Jaylen Warren time. Like, what? So Warren is probably one of the best backups in the NFL. Of course, Najee had that injury last year. We're talking about running backs who get hit every play, who get hurt a lot. Um, Jalen Warren is one of those guys that could potentially force his way into almost an RBBC situation there in Pittsburgh. Um, as I mentioned earlier, this list is going from position to position, so bear with me. Another maybe non-sleeper quarterback, sleeper quarterback. I think he outperforms his ADP. So to me, that's a sleeper. Trevor Lawrence. I mean, Doug Peterson is a quarterback whisperer for whatever reason, right? And Trevor Lawrence really took that step last year. Yeah, and not exactly. Najee was great, and he was taking some hits and stuff like that. Now it's Kenny Pickett taking some hits and stuff like that. Now it's Kenny Pickett. So, I mean, I still love Najee. I just think Jalen's a solid backup. And like I said, Mike Tomlin will literally flip the script on fantasy managers without even a hint of anything coming, which always makes me very nervous taking Pittsburgh running backs, especially the longer, like for example, Najee now, what, third, fourth year, whatever. The longer a starting running back goes with Tomlin, the more likely it is that it could happen. So I do like Najee. I don't think I'm drafting him anywhere this year, but yeah, I'm trying to bring up Jacksonville here because of a point I made earlier. And clearly, I don't know my alphabet because I'm in the D's and Jacksonville is a J. There we go. CJ Beathard is Trevor Lawrence's backup. That is just gross. Oh, I remember that man from Iowa. He was terrible. Anyways, that's beside the point. Sorry. Okay, so earlier I put Kenny Pickett on my list, right? And I said, usually quarterbacks come out in year 2 if they're a first round pick. This is why I love Kenny Pickett this year. First round quarterbacks suck usually their rookie year or are borderline, right? This happened with Pat Mahomes. It happened with Lamar Jackson. It happened with Joe Burrow. The second year in the league, they are drafted as a backup quarterback to fantasy teams, or they're left undrafted. But most teams take 2 quarterbacks. So Burrow in his second year, again, Lamar, Pat, all in their second years were drafted as like backups, like, oh, we'll see what they do. Trevor Lawrence was this guy last year. And this man came out and threw for 25 touchdowns and only 8 interceptions in his second year. That man was drafted as a quarterback last year. And this man finished as like quarterback 6, and drafted as a backup. And so again, this goes back to my point that I made at the very beginning, I think before y'all were in here, is Kenny Pickett was drafted in the first round. Terrible rookie year. Terrible. Drafted as a backup quarterback to rosters and is going to shock people, I really think. The other one, again, potentially is Sam Howell, except he wasn't the first round quarterback. I think he was third, if I'm not mistaken. But exactly, Brandon. Christian Kirk. Calvin Ridley comes back, right? Travis Etienne, his college teammate at Clemson, running back. Tank Bigsby is the backup to Travis Etienne. And Bigsby's being drafted in most drafts because he's created buzz in the preseason and in training camp. You got Zay Jones, who he did show some flashes last year. He had some big games. And then you got Evan Ingram that finally Evan Ingram put together a solid season. The Giants fans are probably like, yo, what the hell was that when you were on our team? That man had drop problems and health problems. All of a sudden, Evan Ingram decided he want to put together a full season and then get a nice payday this offseason. So I'm trying to look here real fast. Where did Evan Ingram finish last year? Evan Ingram, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Evan Ingram played one full season in 5 years as a Giant. One full season. Last year, he put together the most receptions in a year than any of his 5 in New York. The most receiving yards and the second most receiving touchdowns. He finished as tight end 6. So, does he repeat that this year? Oh, I highly doubt it, especially because he got paid. But nonetheless, this is about Trevor Lawrence. We're not going to go off on Evan Ingram right now. He's got a solid offense. I do think Kirk, I do think Ridley can easily finish both as top 20 fantasy wide receivers, especially if Trevor Lawrence has a year like he did last year. So I think Lawrence's ADP, at least last I looked, was around round 7. Uh, again, sleeper, who's going to outperform where he's being drafted. I could see him finishing as a top 3 to 5 quarterback. All right, to wrap this up, I'm going to breeze through these last couple of sleepers real quick. Tank Dell, rookie wide receiver from Houston. Make no mistake, he's in Houston. He didn't have to travel far after the whole college days. Just stay right where you are, buddy. Excuse me. Houston Texans are another one of those teams that's going to need somebody to step up at wide receiver. Sure, it could be Nico Collins, but again, as a recurring theme here, Nico Collins can't stay healthy. D'Amico Ryans has come out and said that Tank Dell is going to be special for us and he's going to do big things. So Tank Dell, wide receiver at Houston Texans, keep him on your speed dial. I'm starting to see him get drafted towards like the end of 20 round drafts. So yeah, for what it's worth, keep him on the waiver wire speed dial. Sleeper tight end that is being drafted, at least from what I've seen, around round 12, 13. Jake Ferguson for the Cowboys. Dalton Schultz is over in Houston now. You got Brandon Cooks. You still got CeeDee Lamb, obviously. You still got Michael Gallup, Newton Ferguson, solid offense. Dak throwing the ball. Jake Ferguson is the guy at tight end, and I like him. Jake Ferguson is the guy at tight end, and I like him. I wouldn't mind drafting him as a backup. There's so much. I'll say there's so many sleepers at the tight end position this year that, again, I don't really like Kelsey. I don't really like Mark Andrews. I don't like George Kittle. So with those 3 gone, the first tight end that I really like that's proven is Hockenson. After that, if I take Hockenson, more so on FFPC because, again, it's a 1.5 per catch for tight ends on that site. But if I take like a Hockenson, I have no problem at all taking a Sam Laporta, a Luke Musgrave, or a Jake Ferguson as my backup tight end or backup tight ends. Just saying. I know Josh Jacobs reported and signed a 1-year deal. Still a little iffy on that. I think some of these guys that are sized, that are signing, or that were franchise tagged and finally reported, I would be surprised if they come up with an injury this year. That's all I'm saying. And I think Josh Jacobs is one of those guys. I don't know if y'all saw his interview last year after one of the games, but he was just fed up. He was done. He don't want to be in Vegas. Okay. He don't want to be there. But with this whole rule thing about, the longer you sit out, the more fines you pay and whatever. Look, you might be paying my butt millions of dollars, okay? if I don't like being in a situation, but you about to take millions from me because I don't want to be there, I'm just gonna suck it up for one more year and just say, get me through the season. I'll come in. Okay. For millions of dollars to save me even $1 million a year, which I know the fines were going to add up more than that for Josh Jacobs throughout the year. But there's nothing in that little contract that says, ah, dang man, my hamstring hurts. Yeah, and then there's a whole thing, and Josh Jacobs is out. Zamir White, that's what I'm getting at here. Just keep Zamir White on the speed dial, and keep an eye on him if Jacobs gets banged up at all. And again, we're talking about a running back that gets hit every play pretty much. Another one of these guys, and this is a whole thing here. This is again where I miss Connor. I personally think Stefon Diggs pulls something like this year. Deep down, I don't think he wants to be in Buffalo. I really don't. Stephen A. Smith came out, I think, last week and said that he's got sources that say Diggs don't want to be in Buffalo. And then Diggs came out and said, I don't know who your sources are, but that's a lie. Stephen A. is already well established. He doesn't need to make up some BS to get attention, right? And we know there was drama earlier on around like OTAs and stuff where Diggs wasn't reporting to the Bills. So I think there's more there with Diggs and the Bills. And I do believe Stephen A. Smith, Diggs wants to win. And if you look at the Bills, I think they've had their chance. They're still a good team. Don't get me wrong. But they had their chance at a Super Bowl and they failed. And I think Diggs realized that. Diggs knows he's getting older and he wants to go on somewhere else to where he can potentially win a ring. Right? So I wouldn't be surprised if Stefon Diggs comes up with an injury of some type this year, or maybe even pulls an Antonio Brown type situation or something like that. Anyways, the name to remember here is Khalil Shakir. He's going to start most likely as a slot guy for Buffalo. I liked him a little bit last year. I told my dad and brother about him. Didn't really do a whole lot. I'm almost certain that this is now his second year league. Let's see. Yep, second year in the league. Khalil Shakir out of Boise State. That's a name to keep your eye on in Buffalo if anything happens with Diggs and or Gabe Davis. If Gabe Davis gets beat up at all. Wrapping up the list here, wide receivers, Marvin Mims in Denver. Jerry Jeudy's already week to week. Probably going to miss the start of the season. Tim Patrick's already out for the year. Marvin Mims, wide receiver number 2, starting across from Courtland Sutton. I do like Russell Wilson a lot this year. Of course, I got a little PTSD from last year when I called him a sleeper, and this man was just the complete opposite. Like, couldn't be any worse with Nathaniel Hackett and that team averaging like 13 points a game. Holy cow. I'm not expecting to hit every sleeper, but my goodness. Okay. I said Russell Wilson was a sleeper, and this man was like quarterback freaking 28. Jesus, kid. Woo. Anyways, Hackett on, Sean Payton in. Sean Payton worked with Drew Brees. Drew Brees has already come to a couple of Broncos practices, and I do think Russell Wilson has a bounce back year. And I do like Marvin Mims. Moving on from that, actually, you know what? To finish up the wide receivers real fast, Jalen Hyatt from the Giants. That's a little scary. That is a little scary because these mofos got too many damn wide receivers for me, okay? I've already told my dad, look, I'm not a believer in Danny Dimes by any means, I should say. But Brian Dable is a good coach, right? He did some wonders last year with Danny Dimes. I don't know what, and I don't know if it was one hit wonder, but we're gonna see year two. All I know is they brought in Darren Waller. There we go. Okay. They got Saquon. They got Wandale Robinson that's gonna come back at some point. Okay. They got Sterling Shepard. I'm gonna read the wide receivers. Isaiah Hodgins, who came out of nowhere last year. Darius Slayton. Paris Campbell. Well, we know Paris is gonna get hurt. Wandale Robinson coming back at some point. Rookie Jalen Hyatt. Sterling Shepard. Cole Beasley. Look, I'm not trying to curse, but damn. MFers. How many wide receivers do you need, bruh? You what? And not to mention, you got solid tight ends in Darren Waller and Daniel Bellinger. Like, there's no reason for Danny Dimes to fail. Like, this man better do better than what he did last year. I'm not a full believer in Danny Dimes, but I've already told my dad, like, look, just give me the quarterback. There's too many receivers to try and figure out on a weekly basis to who the hell is going to get the ball. Okay. But I do like Jalen Hyatt as like a deep wide receiver sleeper. Again, Paris Campbell's, he really hasn't been healthy his career. Wandale's already hurt. How much is he going to give you? So right there off the bat, Hyatt could immediately be a slot wide receiver. And then Van Jefferson on the Rams, wide receiver 2, across from Cooper Kupp. I think Stafford and the Rams have somewhat of a bounce back year. I semi-like Cam Akers, but not enough to see him like outproducing his ADP. The only reason he might do that is because he's essentially the only running back there. But that whole situation of Cam Akers last year was super confusing. Dude started as a starter. Then he started tailing off. There was like 4 games where he didn't even see the field, was like benched. And then he starts again towards the end of the year and is like running back 1-2 status in fantasy points. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, just an awkward situation with Cam Akers last year. And then I'm avoiding everybody on this offense in fantasy. I ain't taking nobody. But if I had to take one person from this team, Keontae Ingram from the Arizona Cardinals. Again, James Conner made a glass. The Cardinals ain't going no damn where this year, okay? They ain't going no damn where. They going to be probably in the fight for Caleb Williams, at number 1 pick. So, why not try Keontae Ingram and see what you got at running back while you're most likely getting number 1 pick in Caleb Williams, or at worst, you get a fresh Kyler Murray most likely next year. I don't see Kyler playing this year. Just me. They have put him on IR for the rest of the year, so maybe he comes back. But nonetheless, that team ain't going nowhere. Marquise Brown, Rondale Moore, Greg Dortch as your wide receivers. Nah, not going to cut it. Zach Ertz, that man old at tight end. I think he's not going to be ready for the start of the season from what I read. So, yeah. Not to mention, their defense is just terrible. And they traded Isaiah Simmons. So, I don't know. But running backs, we seem to go through them like crazy during the year in fantasy, right? Keontae Ingram, decent PPR guy, backing up James Conner. I like him out there in Arizona. And I forgot one wide receiver because he's way down here, kind of scribbled in on my list. And I'm actually kind of glad I ended with them because, hey, shout out to the Panthers, right? Maybe we'll do something this year. As y'all know, that's my team. Jonathan Mingo. Terrace Marshall looks like he ain't going nowhere. DJ Moore's gone. Sure, we have DJ Chark. Sure, we have Adam Thielen. Great. That's great. I love bringing in some dinosaurs, boy. Let me tell you, especially at the wide receiver position. Jonathan Mingo, rookie, at worst starting as the slot guy, maybe on the outside because Thielen goes to the slot. Um, I do like Mingo as a late round wide receiver, round 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there, maybe 16. If you do 16 rounds, or if you do 20 rounds, like some of my drafts are, taking a flyer on Jonathan Mingo. But yeah, let's hope that we didn't pull a John Lynch, Carolina fans. Uh, as y'all know, I live in the Bay Area. Well, this isn't really the Bay Area. Sorry. I live north of the Bay Area, but it's all 49ers out here. And I'm laughing still to this day that these idiots traded 3 first round picks for a quarterback that was essentially on the roster for 2 years. And then on top of that, traded him for a 4th round pick. I don't know how John Lynch ain't been fired after pulling that trade off, but whatever. For a guy that went, what is it, D2 North Dakota State or D1 AA, D2, whatever, FCS, whatever it is, it's North Dakota State. And you traded 3 first round picks to take Trey Lance and a guy that started 17 total games in college. And now 3 years later, here we are. He's on a whole different roster. And not to mention, you didn't trade a whole lot, but there was a second rounder in there. You traded for Christian McCaffrey, who has already been used up by Ron Rivera in his days in Carolina. John Lynch, look, I mean this with all respect because who knows if I'll ever get a job with them or whatever, where life may take you, right? But I mean this very respectfully. But John Lynch, this man, I don't know if he's the brightest GM or not because this man's pulled some doozy trades that just make no real sense. And not to mention, let's keep in mind that John Lynch, when he more or less became GM of the 49ers, this man picked the phone up, called the Patriots, and said, "What will it take to trade Tom Brady to us?" And he essentially was hung up on. Look, I applaud the effort, okay, but come on, man. Come on now, John. You got a little CTE from your days or something? You think they were going to trade Tom Brady? I don't care if you traded them the 21st rounders. Really, Tom Brady? You got the audacity to pick up the phone and ask the Patriots what it's going to take to trade Tom Brady? I mean, and I'm a firm believer in taking shots because you never know when one will go in. But let's be real here, okay? Let's just be real here. So again, this is a man that picked up the phone and did that. This is a man that traded 3 first round picks for Trey Lance. This is a man that traded a pick in like each of the rounds, like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think, for Christian McCaffrey when McCaffrey's been beat up, been used up, and probably past his prime with the Panthers. John Lynch ain't the smartest GM out there. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah. Him and Lynch and Cashman from their days, when they were training, or Cashman would come down to Tampa for spring training. I don't think Cashman was the GM yet when Lynch was playing, obviously, but they got a Tampa connection there. That's what I'm getting at. Something must have happened right around that time because Lord have mercy. Whew. Anyways, that's my little rant to end. Mike, I hope you stay safe. I know I woke up this morning to one of my cousins down in middle Florida, down in Hardee County, texted me and said, "Here we go," and sent a radar image of the hurricane. And I know it's already starting to go through. So Stay safe. Hopefully, I think Connor's coming back like Wednesday night or Thursday. So if we could record our podcast Friday and finally get him on just something, um, that should be posted on Saturday, or maybe even Friday night, depending on the time. Um, but yeah, um, again, for what it's worth, I like Utah minus 6.5 against the Gators. Gators going to get stomped Thursday night, no doubt. You heard it here first. And I'm actually wearing Gator shorts right now. So, yeah, when it comes to making money, I will gladly bet against my teams if I see that it fits, and it fits. So, uh, yeah, I appreciate y'all. I'm gonna build this up. Like I said, I gotta stick with it. Consistency is the biggest thing. And between Connor and I hope we can stay consistent with it year round. And Brandon, I don't know if you're still here or not, but I know you're big on the daily NBA with me. So that's why I said we'll have to bring back daily NBA. I'll talk about who I like on FanDuel and DraftKings. And well, I don't really do NBA on DraftKings. But FanDuel and stuff like that. And yeah, just do it year round. I mean, there's sports year round, and this is sports talk, so it shouldn't it shouldn't go away after football season ends. So we'll see. We'll see if we can get this thing up and going and getting more people and just having fun with it and doing some embarrassing things. Connor and I, like I said at the beginning, y'all can go back and watch it if you want. Yeah, Connor and I going to bet against one another. Each week of the NFL season, we're going to pick one bet from each game, and we're going to see who gets more wins. And either y'all or the winner will choose what the loser gets done to them, more or less. So we'll need punishment ideas. Again, respectful, kid-friendly punishments. And I just threw a couple out to Connor. I was like, look, Reagan, for whatever reason, loves pieing me in the face. Of course, if you see on my YouTube channel here, I did it to her. I surprised her on her birthday earlier this year. And I surprised her with a pie to the face for passing first grade back in June. So, that could be something, could involve Reagan pieing me in the face if and when. I'm sure I'll lose at some point during one of the NFL weeks, bet wise, with Connor. I have no problem eating spicy stuff. So I'll go get 5 just atomic, just nuclear hottest wings around me and eat them things on live, whatever, and just sweat my butt off and do all that. Like I said, just fun, quirky little things like that. Not to mention he and I will be button heads. So hopefully we'll get him in here on Friday. Y'all stay safe. Thinking of you. And I'll be checking in with you, Mike. I'll be checking in with Mom. Everybody in Florida. Brandon, we need to get back on the Voxer for sure. Yeah. And until Friday, Saturday time, I'm out.